So are you really struggling with conversations because you feel so awkward and you're completely at a loss for what to say? And it's to the point where you feel completely defective and just dreading social interactions on a daily basis. Well, what you're experiencing is a side effect of social anxiety disorder. And I want to talk about how to overcome this because it's one of the most common issues men struggling with social anxiety disorder face. And if you are able to break through this hurdle, you're going to be making massive progress in your recovery. All right, so stay tuned. All right, guys, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Ruben and I used to suffer from social anxiety disorder. I was able to fully overcome it, and now I help other men fully overcome it as well. Now, before we start, I want to talk about a big misconception in the personal development or self-help kind of space, and that is trying to resolve this issue with techniques, confidence techniques, charisma techniques. And when you have that thought, that scary thought or that overwhelming thought, you feel completely at a loss for what you say, you are experiencing a symptom of social anxiety disorder. It's a symptom. And when you go out and you start trying to learn, a lot of people do this, a lot of guys, they'll go out and they'll start learning social confidence techniques, or they'll go on charisma channels and learn how to be more charismatic and charming. But that's like you have a headache. It's like you have a headache and you are taking Advil for that headache. And although that Advil might make you feel a little bit better for, a little while, it doesn't get to the root. It doesn't get to the social anxiety disorder and the cause of it. And I used to do this too. I'm completely guilty of this. I used to go, I bought social confidence courses. I studied charisma channels on how to be more charismatic, courses on charm. And it is such a rabbit hole because I would go constantly, whether it was one-on-one or groups, and I would be thinking of what to say, right? People are talking and it wouldn't even be like I was on the same level. It was like I was just in my head, like on like this other kind of plane, and it was like, think of something clever to say, think of something funny, say something cool, and it's like it would be to the point where people would even be talking to me, and it was like, people would be talking to me and I wouldn't even be hearing the words that were coming in after a while because I would just be thinking of what to say next. And after a while, it just got overwhelming. It got totally overwhelming because at the end of the day, what I really wanted to do was connect with people. But what I ended up doing is I would just freeze up, completely freeze up. And, I had this idealized image of how it was gonna go and how I was gonna say something perfect and everybody was gonna laugh at me. And then every time in the moment, I would freeze up, nothing would come out. And there would always be another guy who just flowed. He just let it go. He said something funny. Everybody would laugh at him or laugh with him. And then I would go into my head and just be like, oh, like, why can't I be like that? Like, why can't I just stop censoring myself and just let it rip? You know what I mean? Let it rip. Everybody would think it's funny, that type of thing. Or on the other hand, what I would do is I would say what I wanted to say. I thought it would be funny. I'd say something and there would be like such a shaky voice, or there would be no passion behind it, no emotions behind it. It would come out flat, and it wouldn't be funny at all because people would feel that nervousness behind what I was saying. And I started to just really beat myself up over and over. Just every time I went into these interactions, it was dreadful. It was like, all I do is sit there and think of what to say. I can't be present. And so that was the cycle. Not be able to express myself, and then take that away and just beat myself up, shame myself into looking at more confidence techniques, more charisma techniques, and just chasing that next shiny object of the perfect technique that I was going to use, that never ever worked. It never ever played out in real life like I learned on the channels and pictured it in my head. Never. It never happened. And then I started to, I was getting into my 30s, right? I was getting into my 30s and I thought to myself like, do I really want to be, eventually in my 30s, my 40s, my 50s trying to fit in and think of what to say? Like, is that a really good look for a mature man, a leader, somebody who's got his shit together? That's not a good look. And so, if you want to learn more about my story with social anxiety disorder, I wrote an ebook and it goes further and further into my story, everything I went through. And I'll link it below the video. You can download that for free and have a read through that. And it'll really help you understand on a deep level what's happening to you internally and what you need to unlock to overcome this hurdle and crush social anxiety disorder for good. So how do you overcome this, guys? When you are completely at a loss for what to say, again, you are experiencing a side effect of social anxiety disorder. Okay? That in itself, when you are experiencing that symptom, it's very, very, very important to realize you've shifted into fight or flight. Okay? Something's gone off in your body and your physiology has put you into fight or flight mode. And that is the important thing to recognize. That is the root, that is the core issue that you want to resolve here. You don't want to take the Advil for your headache, like I was saying before, which is social confidence techniques and trying to be charming and charismatic. Those are crutches, and in the long term, those won't serve you. So it's important to ditch the crutches and focus on getting to the root of the issue, which is social anxiety disorder. So moving forward, you have to become very, very sensitive, ear to the ground when you shift subtly into fight or flight mode. So it's the symptom of thinking of what to say. It's important to not take that as truth. You don't need to think of what to say. The thought is your brain's way of moving you away from that physical discomfort of what you're feeling towards pleasure. And that's what our brains always do. So think about it. If you are in a conversation and all of a sudden you just feel completely at a loss for words, and think of how uncomfortable that is to sit in that. To actually sit in that. And so what does your brain do? It starts working towards pleasure, which is thinking of something to say, thinking of something cool to say, something funny to say, because in your head, the fantasy, that feels a lot better than sitting in the discomfort that you're feeling. And it takes the heat off of the moment, right? So if you start to sense that you're thinking of what to say, don't play into that thought. And then start gaining the ability to shift out of that fight or flight. And that happens when you start to become more aware of what you are experiencing, the sensations that are going on, the discomfort that you're feeling. The more and more you can feel into that, the more you'll gain that ability to shift out of it. All right, guys, so I hope that helps with that feeling of being completely at a loss for what to say. And if you need a bit more help, what you can do is join my private Facebook group. We got an awesome group of guys in there, and they are holding space and supporting each other, witnessing each other's healing. And it is a high quality group. It's not people who are just coming in there venting and spamming and throwing every tool in there in their toolbox for things to try and just flooding the group with misinformation. It is a high quality group, and they're there to support each other. I'm in there as well, and you can ask me questions. So I'll link that below the video, the link to the group, and you're welcome to join. And if you need a little bit more help with this, if you want to get more help getting down to the root of that social anxiety disorder, what I've done is I've created some free training for you. And what it does is it'll show you that system of how we get down to the root of social anxiety disorder and then what we do to reprocess what's underneath that fight or flight system. Okay, so when we reprocess what's underneath, the alarms don't go off in your body, which set that into gear. All right, so I'll link that below the video as well. Be sure to check out that free training, and I'll talk to you later. All right, peace.